Charles Louis Mortgage Advisors, 0161 959 0166.
Well, one question I wanted to ask you, Nedum, and this has lent itself to that conversation, because you've made that transition now from being a player to the media. Very well, I have to add as well, and I've said that right from the beginning when I first started talking to you, that you'll be a superstar. You're already a superstar, but your star is rising. I just wonder, you've declared yourself a City fan. You've always been a City fan. How difficult is it to juggle that? I mean, I don't want to get into politics here, but when you're in politics, you can't actually have an allegiance, especially if you're on something like the BBC. You're supposed to just be neutral all the time and always fair play both sides. Now, if you're on a local radio station like I was for many years, I, as the commentator, was guided into not saying we and not showing too much allegiance, even though everybody knew that I was a Blue. As in the role that you've got, do you feel that you have to be neutral, and do you act in different ways when you're on different media platforms?
Well, when I come on the City Live stuff, I can just throw it all in the bin and just say whatever I want to say. I might throw in we might turn up in a City show, who cares? You know what I mean? It's one of those things. But as for the other stuff, I do try my best to be neutral. And I think overall, I think I am that, even though I want City to win. If they don't win, I think I'm quite good in terms of describing why they didn't, like what the opposition did well, what City didn't do well. And I'll be disappointed about the result, but the process is one of the things which I think I specialize in. So it's not too difficult for me to not say we when it's like a nationally televised thing. But unfortunately, one thing I'm seeing is that it's not the case for some other people. Like it was a couple of weeks ago.
I was thinking
listen to my word in here. For me personally, I pay for BT Sport because I like the Champions League. Yeah. If 4 English teams are in it, great. If 4 English teams aren't in it, it's fine. I like the Champions League. And I was watching Man United versus Atalanta. And that was the game where Robbie Savage shouted Viva Ronaldo down my TV during the game. And I'm like, what is this? Because I didn't pay to watch a United version of a Champions League game. I paid to just watch a game and have people talk about what's going on in the game. Like, I understand you don't have the same understanding of, say, Atalanta and their situation. But there was genuine excitement every time United was scoring a goal. I'm like, but I didn't tune in for that. I tuned in to watch the game, and it felt like I was wrong for not rooting for Man United in the game because that's what the coverage was dictating. And I thought to myself, well, what's the point in that? And why is this okay? When, as I say, I'm doing everything I can to make sure it's not a we. Like when City do well, I can smile and talk about it afterwards and say why they did well. But if they do badly, I'll be like, well, this is football, firstly, because you don't win every single game. And here's why I think that happened. That's my analysis. And then we move on. But for other people, like, you're basically seeing them crying on TV. In my opinion, it's pathetic, but, that's each their own, I guess.
Well, whilst you make a very good point, and I agree with you, let me play devil's advocate to you, right?
Cool.
When England are playing on TV, are you happy for the commentators to go, great goal by England, we've got through to the World Cup final, on the basis that the assumption by the commentary team is that at least 95% of those watching are England fans?
Do I think that's different? I would say yes. I think that's different. I do think that's different. I think when it comes down to the stuff about, say, Champions League or the feed or whatever, like, you can find a specific version of that commentary for that game, probably through the channel of the particular team and so on.
So I'm not defending Robbie Savage.
Oh, no, of course. No, I understand.
If an English team is playing a Spanish team in the Champions League, and I'm not a United fan, and I can't deny that I watched that game wanting Villarreal to win, so I don't want to hear Robbie, who I actually like. I get on with Robbie really well, shouting Viva Ronaldo, but he also knows that 95% of the audience are United fans.
Does he know that?
Well,
does he know that?
He's
assuming that. And one thing which we've seen over the past few weeks is United have struggled. For as much as they're one of the biggest clubs in the world and they've got millions of fans, they've got a lot more people who do not like them one bit. That's one thing which I'm picking up, because there's a lot of people reveling in what has been the last month, 2 months from Man United, because for years before that, you didn't really have a say with that. But it doesn't feel like it's that anymore. So there is more of an audience. Some people tune into United to see a car crash in the same way they might tune in to see that maybe they'll win. And I think that's something which kind of gets forgotten by some of the people who are talking about that. And for context, again, I'm not trying to say there's complete bias in media because there's not. But the day before, City were playing against Bruges, and it was like a masterful performance. But the way they were talking during the game is like everyone should be bored and they should just go and find something else to do because it's just too easy for City now. Well, the reason it's too easy is because of the nature of the performance which they put out. So why is that not being championed? Whereas the other stuff, it's going to, like, the wording was at halftime and it was 2-0. They just started the second half. It said, is this going to be another one of those iconic nights at Old Trafford? And I thought, when on God's earth was the last iconic European night at Old Trafford? Because if you're saying that, it just goes to show that in the press, the way that you were raised and the feeling you had when you were younger, that sticks with you, because in their mind, they remember iconic times at Old Trafford. But say, I think the last time they won the Champions League was like 2008, maybe. If somebody was born in the year 2000, they're probably too young to have enjoyed that. But that person that's born in the year 2000 is now an adult at 21 years of age. So when you talk about the history of Manchester United, the young people haven't seen it. So who are you really talking to when you say how great Manchester United are as a club? Because at this point, if United goes through another 5 years of this, maybe 10 years, they'll sound exactly the same as Liverpool fans did come the turn of the century about the great years in which they had. And it just doesn't, and like Forest, it just doesn't add up because times are changing and football's not where it was, but somehow we're being told that it is.
I think it's also, for me, just to jump in, obviously I'm not in the media, but for me, I think it all comes down to the balance. So if you're getting that at United in terms of commentary, are we getting that when City are playing? And we've not had it for years. I think Sky, to a degree, with Meeks on there now, we're starting to get it a little bit, and his enthusiasm, and I think it's fair to say Sky approach things differently when it comes to football. So you clearly know Neville's allegiances are going to be United, and you clearly know that Meek is obviously going to be City, and then you've got Carragher for Liverpool, etc. So you do see those allegiances come through with Sky. But when it comes to BT, I mean, we've had McManaman for years now commentating on our game, and I just got to zone him out because sometimes when it's almost like he's watching it rooting for everyone but us. And it really winds me up sometimes. And like I say, I think it depends. If you're going to go for that kind of, Viva la Ronaldo, I mean, you want to see the same at when City are playing or when Chelsea are playing or Arsenal or whoever it is, but you only get it with certain teams. And again, it comes through those biasness. I do think that it's a bigger problem within sport, really, especially for other teams like Everton today, for example. I was sat there at one point chatting to the guy next to me at the game, and we were saying, 15 years ago, we had this solidarity with Everton because we were both kind of the little brothers in the city in terms of they were always overshadowed by Liverpool, to some degree still are. And obviously we, in the past, were overshadowed by United. And then, they're trying to, with their owners, replicate similar to what we've done. They're struggling a little bit, but we were just talking about that in general. Now, the smaller teams won't ever get any form of bias from the commentators or from any of the pundits, really. And you do kind of feel for them. But City have always maintained that in the years to come, because of what we're doing now, we will have that biasness down the line. And, when our kids become the next journos and the pundits and the commentators, etc. But I just think that regardless of who it is, it needs to be even-handed because, for example, BT, it's generally always going to be Savage and McManaman who are commentating between them on whatever the game is anyway. And if they can't do it for all of them, don't do it for any of them.
I agree. And for me, like, bias after a game is fine because it's like the debrief and you can show your emotions then because you're happy that your team's won. You're happy they've made it to the next stage, And not everybody tunes in to watch what's being said after a game. Likelihood is if you're still watching the TV program after the game, it's because you want a certain reaction for something. Yeah. But it's when it's the cold commentary that gets me. Like, what is going on? Because you've got one person who's the main commentator who's brilliant at being neutral, brilliant. And then I thought the role of the pundit was to provide insight, not to just show that they're solely rooting for something to happen. Like, if it was England in the European Championship final and the feed's coming through the BBC, the likelihood is that the vast majority, as Ian would say, is going to be that. But this isn't that. Like, let me hold my hands up. Maybe I was tuning in to watch United have a car crash. Maybe I tuned in at 2-0 thinking this is going to be fun. But then from that point forward, the next 45 minutes, I was just hearing somebody root for a team. And I'm like, nah, I didn't pay for this. Because if I did, I'd be watching Man United TV and not BT Sport. That's just my take on it anyway.
Yeah.